Just say no to equal distribution. This episode is about how to not ruin your children with your trust. My name's Doug Andrew, and I've helped many highly successful people in America for the last 47 years optimize their assets, not just their financial, but all of their assets on their family balance sheet, minimize unnecessary tax, and empower their true, or what I call authentic, wealth. That's more than just the money. It's the family values, your heritage, your talents, your unique abilities, your experiences, your beliefs, faith, education, all of those things. Those are the most important assets on the family balance sheet. But do you know that I have reviewed thousands of trusts in my life? I talk about this on my national radio show. We're right now here in my studio, and I've written several books about this. In fact, I have a book called Entitled Abolition. And I've noticed that many people who are very successful, they go in to establish a trust sooner or later, maybe more than one trust. I have one, my wife has one. Many attorneys will set up what is called an AB trust with just both a husband and wife. It's a very good idea because trusts do solve a lot of problems and issues that just having a will or dying intestate, which means dying without a will, because if you die without a will, the state you live in actually has written a will for you, and most people do not like the will, the governance of those wills written by the state they live in. So it would behoove you to at least have your own will, last will and testament. But frankly, a trust is better than just having a will. When I review these trusts, the vast majority of trusts in America are equal distribution trusts. And I look at it and I go, oh my heavens, as I get to know them, I say this phrase, and it shocks people. There's nothing more unequal than the equal distribution to unequals. And they go, what? Say again? There's nothing more unequal than the equal distribution to unequals. And so I usually explain it first by saying our Creator, whatever your belief is of a higher power, does not give equal distribution of blessings, let's say of health, to all of us, regardless of how some of us may choose to abuse our bodies, okay? Our Creator does not do that. What does our Creator do? He gives us equal opportunities, not equal distribution. And so when people start to listen to this message, they begin to realize, wow, maybe that's why half of our children, when they found out what we named in our trust in equal distribution, they sat around just waiting for their share. When do I get my share? In fact, it encourages extraordinary consumption. It discourages saving money, and it takes families oftentimes from we to me. Oh, when do I get my share? I've actually seen it ruin many children when they found out, oh, so mom and dad are worth this much money and I get my fifth of it because I'm one of the lucky five in this family, and so I'm going to sit around. And I saw a young man when he found out his dad was worth $15 million and his dad was going to start gifting $100,000 a year. He quit his job at a bank. He sat around and he just says, Dad, is there any way you can give me this gift on January 1st each year? I don't want to wait till July. And it actually ruined his son as he waited around, almost like a vulture, for his dad to pass away. Well, you want to empower those you care about with equal opportunities. You want them to be responsible and accountable. So how do you say no to equal distribution? You must require what I call skin in the game. So how do you do that? My wife and I, my wife's name is Sherry, and as of the recording of this episode, we are about to celebrate our 47th wedding anniversary. So we've been around the block for quite a few years. We have 6 children, and we now have 16 grandchildren. And if we treated all of our children exactly the same from the time they were toddlers until they were into mid-childhood and then adolescent and then adult, we would have been treating most of them wrong most of the time. You know that if you're a parent. You have to treat them differently based upon what is their hot button, what is it that motivates them. So you don't treat all your children exactly the same. It's based upon their maturity level and their ability to be able to handle things. And this is why traditional estate planning in America seems to do more to destroy families and their assets than transfer taxes will ever do. I mean, I've seen a lot of tax attorneys, estate planning attorneys, they would teach their clients, high net worth clients, well, let's just set this up equally. You want to be fair, don't you? And they would nod their head up and down until the parents would go, oh yeah, we want to be fair. You want to divide this stuff up equally, don't you? And then as soon as they get the couple to agree, they go, hot diggity dog, I got another one. And it's so easy. They take their children's names and they put it into this boilerplate document, the trust. And then they take the assets and they put it in the trust. And when the mom and dad die, chunk, 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 it's divided all up equally and dumped in the kids' laps. And it ruins half of the kids, sometimes requiring to sort of kill the goose laying the golden eggs, maybe the business or the investments, the apartments or whatever. Well, no, we have to divide this up equally, and the only way to do that is we got to liquidate it, we got to sell, and it may not be a good time to sell. I've seen some family estates dwindle in value by 30, 40, and 50% because the trust said, nope, it's got to be divided up equally and then given to them. So this is why so many times the traditional estate planning, equal distribution, ruins children when they sit around and go, oh, wow, I'm lucky. It's what my friend Lee Brower calls the lucky sperm club. Oh, I was just part of this lucky family. I get my share. I wonder what the poor people are doing today. And they sit around waiting for theirs. And it takes families from this together we're better, we, to me, when do I get mine? I have different stories that illustrate this in my various books. But the key point of this episode is that you want to rethink your thinking. Instead of equal distribution, you want to rethink it to equal opportunity. So how do you do that? If you have a trust or are considering setting up a trust, I would strongly recommend that you take some time to think through this. Most couples don't even hardly talk about this before they get in front of the attorney. The attorney throws out some legal vernacular and you act like you know what the attorney is talking about, and then you want to be fair, don't you? And so it's the easiest way because it's a boilerplate document. So I actually have many workshops that I've taught throughout my life. I continue to do this, and I have a simple worksheet that I have couples go through when they're thinking about rules of governance. So for example, in this particular one, it's talking about equal opportunity rules of governance instead of equal distribution. Now, it's hard to see what's on this, but I'm going to read from this because the couples go through and they think, how are we going to help our posterity with education? We're just going to pay for their education, or are we going to have some skin in the game required? For every dollar they earn towards saving for college, we'll match dollar for dollar. If they get a scholarship, we'll match dollar for dollar. But having them take ownership in their education. Also, health and medical expenses. We have incentives for our family to be able to join a fitness center to prevent the disease, the having to cure something when we could have prevented it. And so we help and empower our family with health and medical, emergency needs, what constitutes an emergency, business planning. We encourage our children to be entrepreneurial and to try things. And so we actually have a little type of scholarship fund where we do that. Personal loans, supplemental income, weddings. Are you just going to pay for their wedding, or are they going to contribute towards the cost of a wedding? Or I have one couple that believed in significant honeymoons instead of lavish weddings. How about a personal residence? See, you want rules of governance so that each one is created to where you have fairness instead of, oh, well, you help so-and-so. When do we get our help? When do we get our share? You gave them $100,000 for their first house. Where's our $100,000? So you can help them with a personal residence, but I would recommend a loan that is paid back in one way or another, not just monetarily, but they could work it off. Family retreats, vacations, charitable distributions, maybe religious service or military service or humanitarian service, maybe to incentivize them to stay home and save the costs of living away from home in college until they then are 21. And then if they move back home, they must mow the lawn or provide for some of the meals and the food. So these are called rules of governance. Many times we'll have couples come to full-day workshops to do that. And so I created a whole workbook for people to think through this. And as I watch couples talk, they begin to realize, okay, we're getting it. It's equal opportunities that we want to provide to those we care about, not just equal distribution, because that's what causes people to just say, oh, when do I get my share? And it takes families and organizations and businesses from we, together we're better, to me, me, me. Does that make sense? So if this message is resonating and arousing some curiosity, I want you to search other episodes that relate to this, but I've actually authored several books where I teach these principles. One of the books is called Entitlement Abolition, How to Lead Your Family from Me to We, Together We're Better. In here I talk about equal opportunities and some of the areas that I just shared with you. Also, I talk about that in my financial books like the Laser Fund. So please engage with us, and I want to teach you with three-dimensional wealth, how to be balanced, how to say no to equal distribution, rethink your thinking, and consider equal opportunities for those you care about. And this will help you not ruin your children, those that you really love and you want to see become happy, not ruin them with simply a trust document that is set up for equal distribution.